Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Just Scenes podcast. Today, we shall be talking about death. No, I'm bullshit. I'm bullshit. I ain't gonna go there with y'all. But yeah, we definitely gonna be talking about death, but not in the sense of, Grim Reapers and shit. I mean, I might mention Grim Reapers and shit, but not in a typical context of what death is. And as you've seen from the title, it is death. What is it? What am I call this shit? Death, the end of a cycle, the fear. Oh, that's what it is. So I'm calling this episode, as you've seen, death, the fear of completion. Right? Death is a powerful thing, largely because we don't understand it, and we don't understand it from the fear tied to it. Right? But we don't even know what fear is tied to death. You feel what I'm saying? Death is something that comes. Um, yeah, it can come, and I think people associate being killed with death. Like death goes synonymous. Death goes synonymous with being killed, rather than those two things being separate entities. Being killed ultimately leads to death. You feel me? But being killed is not death. Killing is not death. In the grand scheme of it being these two things are exactly the same in totality, right? So, and I think it's purposely done by design. You feel me? Everything we know about death is gory, bloody, fucking torturous, fucking just all kind of traumatic. You know what I'm saying? There's never been it. We never hear. Well, we hear about good deaths, like elders who transition, they died of quote unquote natural causes and shit like that. Like those are the deaths that are easy because it's like, oh, this person lived a long life. Then motherfuckers get shot up, all kind of other shit. We see death from we see death as a single entity, a single expression, and like I said, it's tied to Grim Reapers, it's tied to all of the shit that, you know, goes into death. You feel me? But today I want to give a different perspective because um death, the fear of death is a limiting factor to people's success and growth in life, right? Because death is beyond being killed. Death is beyond quote unquote dying, right? Death is completion. Death is final completion, right? And it's going to happen. And there's a reason. And completion doesn't necessarily mean bad. And then when we look at the Reaper, right, the Grim Reaper comes to the motherfucker. What do we picture? You feel me? A skeleton motherfucker with a long ass sickle or scythe and shit, all black hoodie. You can't see the motherfucker face. You know, it's bones and shit. We associate that with death, right? And because it's the Grim Reaper, we spend more time focusing on the Grim part than we do the Reaper part. You feel what I'm saying? So because we focus more on the Grim part, when we take the Grim out and we see the imagery of a Reaper, we see it solely as a negative aspect, not the fact that reaping, to be a Reaper, means you're collecting a harvest. So when we look at it from that perspective, death, in essence, would be, as I was saying, the fear of completion, but it's also the collection of your harvest. Why does the Grim Reaper have a scythe? And you know what I'm saying, it comes when things are ended, because if you look at harvest, he's coming to reap the harvest, reap what has been sown. That's the part of death. So if the Reaper comes from death, then from birth, the sower is there. You feel what I'm saying? Metaphorically, the sower has to plant the seed to give the life. The Reaper collects the rewards of the life. You feel me? What rewards do you have in your life? And that's where it comes in with the fear of completion, because people have this, a lot of people have the innate feeling of not being complete when they die. You feel me? That's why people have a bucket list. All of the shit that I want to do before I die, before I kick the bucket or whatever, right? Imagine why that is a thing and why we have to wait until some kind of dire experience for that to happen. So because of that, we don't address the many deaths that we have throughout the course of our lives. A lot of us are dead right now, and a lot of us have died a long time ago, and we're not living now because of that single death. And in that death, we didn't complete anything. We don't have anything completed. And then on the other side of that, it's like, if this version of me, if this person of myself dies, then what am I going to do? You feel me? What will I do with the next setup? But before we dive heavy into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram at underscore just underscore scene underscore. Be sure to check out my website at iamjustseen.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip, donate, and sponsor to the podcast, you are greatly, greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of your podcast. Not this episode, but the podcast itself. Cash App and PayPal are always fine. And as always, that's that for this and that's this for that. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into death, the fear of completion. And don't forget to visit iamjustseen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So For Real series to your library? Visit iamjustseen.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit iamjustseen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit iamjustseen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit iamjustseen.com. You ever want to just chat with Scene about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit iamjustseen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at iamjustseen.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit iamjustseen.com. All right. Welcome back. And without further ado, we're gonna dive straight heavy into it. All right, so off rip, we're gonna set the tone with where we're gonna go with this from the jump right now. In So For Real 3, right, during the tree of life, there is a specific path called the death path. In life, just that's why I really recommend y'all reading So For Real 3. Not just because I wrote the motherfucker, but because going forward, a lot of the content that we're going to be going over podcast wise are going to be heavily found in So For Real series and just pretty much everything I do. But So For Real 3 has a very pinnacle piece in a lot of this shit because I always talk about the mastery of self and making sure your self is on point. You know what I'm saying? Coming into your absolute self, your balance between your lower and your higher self. And a lot of that is largely written down in So For Real 3. Specifically in the Tree of Life chapter, right? So in life, we have 3 definite forms of quote unquote change and transformation within ourselves, right? The first one that we go through is going to be referred to as, I want to say it's the High Priestess path. The High Priestess path is, no, it's the Magician. Because the Magician, there's the High Priestess, the Death path, and then the final evolution is all right, fuck it. I ain't even going to that because I ain't prepared for the extra parts. I only prepare for death. Not like that though. But no. All right. So death is the second transformative piece in the grand scheme of the tree of life, right? You go through 3 different phases. You go to the first phase when you change. That is the moment when you're like opened up to a particular thing. However, you have not reached the point of the first point. Okay, you have change, transformation, and evolution. They're all totally different things, right? But they are in line with each other as far as the level. Death is the second level, which is transformation, right? Every death transforms us. Change and transformation aren't the same thing, right? Because when you change, you can change back. When you transform, you cannot transform back. You feel me? There's levels to the different things and dynamics that come with that. Right. So the death path of the tree of life is a moment in ourselves. And it follows the dope part about it is like when you're going through the tree of life for yourself first, not before you do the world and you do your individual projects and shit like that. This is why I teach this aspect to master the self first and then master the self in the things you do. That's when you become raw with the shit, but it got to start with the self. So the death path is the transformative piece, but it leads from the 6th sphere of the tree of life, which is Tiferet, which is your personal identity. That's where you are. So it comes to a point where that death happens when that transformative piece comes from who you become to who you are. They kind of go hand in hand with each other. right? You die, you experience death. And so when we look at tarot, it's like you'll see a death card. Motherfuckers instantly assume fucked up shit. This is why I was talking about lexicons previously. In the last impromptu I just did, I was talking about lexicons and the words that we use and how we associated with those words. It's very, very important that we pay attention to that because they dictate and predicate so much. So much so that when we hear death, we look at death as the end all be all, not the fear of completion. In basic terms, if death is the fear of completion, that means to absolve yourself of death is to be completed. You feel what I'm saying? But that comes in with life is different with personal life because it's like you know innately on a deeper level, you have to uncover it a little bit, but innately on a very, very unconscious level, you know what your purpose is for life. You just can't tap into it yet. So you live everything else. So that is with the mask and everything that we put on, a death is gonna come, right? But as far as the tree of life goes, because I got other aspects I want to talk about with death. So as far as the tree of life goes, we have a specific point where we actually face death. And in tarot, like I said, you have the death card. And a lot of people think death is, I'm really gonna die. I'm gonna get hit by a car. No, no, no. Something is coming to a completion. There's completion about something, right? When we're looking internally for the tree of life, there's a completion of the self. That's why it follows the sixth sphere, which is personal identity. That is the first root of getting to your point, right? But when we experience the death as a function of who we are, it's because we transform. We can't go back to who we were. When you transform, you can't go back to who you were. That's why it's associated with death. This moment in your life, there's several sequences that lead up to that say, okay, all this about to make you die. All of this means that you've completed and this version of yourself is done. A lot of people don't want to update their OS systems within themselves, or they don't want to update their operating system, nor do they want to update their machinery. They still want to be on Windows 95. I'm old school. I like to stick to the. When I hear elders say that shit, you feel me? Because we're in a technological age, and this is when I got that quote that I always say about motherfuckers hate to feel stupid but love to play clueless. You feel me? And there's no shot at the elders, but this is what the elders do. You feel me? They'll tell you shit like, "Oh, I don't know everything," but when it's time to play ignorant, they'll play that shit. You feel me? But when it's inconvenient for them to play ignorant, they won't. They'll act like, you know what I'm saying? So that death in them is the transformation. They're afraid to die and be reborn into a new space. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm saying that as far as technological advances and stuff, because it's like they act like they can't get it. And they program themselves within a lexicon that they can't. They be like, I just don't get the moment they utter the words, I just don't get all this stuff. They won't get all that stuff. They're not willing to go through the phase to kill the version of themselves that can't get it and bring life to the version of themselves that can because of time. And they feel like, oh, this is just past my prime. They act like their brain don't work no more or some shit. I don't know. I hope I don't get that age. I hope I get that age, but I hope I'm not like that when I get that age. Like, what? What do you mean like you can't do this? Like, and it'd be shit that's really easy if you sit with it and experience it, right? But they make it seem like it's too, because they like playing clueless because now people can do for them. Oh, just help me out with this. I want to do this, that, and the third. Okay, do it. I don't know how. You didn't even try. You didn't even start yet. Initially, your initial thing was, I don't know how, rather than how do I figure it out? You already lost. You feel me? But I digress. And the elders though, they help me see the death aspect of it. And it's like, when we're younger, we have more reign to die and we have more reign to experience deaths in our lives because we don't associate death with old age. We don't necessarily, well, we associate death with old age and we know that we're young, but we don't associate death with the killing aspect and the losing your life part that young. We feel like we can live forever. We feel like can't nothing happen to us. And usually it doesn't. And we go through, we bump our heads, whatever, but we die and transform. So in that transformative piece, a lot of people are afraid to transform because, like I said, a transformation is not a change. To change means that there's certain aspects about yourself that it's like, okay, this is a bad trait about me. Let me fix that, but I can keep all my good traits because they're my good traits. However, transformation is when you acknowledge that your bad traits and good traits still go hand in hand. You feel what I'm saying? They enhance each other in some way, shape, or form. You dig what I'm saying? So it's like that transformation piece is okay, let me evolve, not evolve because that's a later one. Let me transform this piece here, not just make a change about this negative thing. Let me transform how the good and the bad go together. Because you have moments within yourselves where you want to keep the good traits about yourself, but you have bad traits. But those bad traits you can't make peace with because everybody telling you don't need to do this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. Like, but it fucks with you on the inside. You dig what I'm saying? One thing that I had to experience that I had to let die within me was the fact that people used to always tell me, you talk too much. It's a crazy quandary how it plays out because you never know what life brings you. So motherfuckers like, yo, you talk too much. It's like you always got something to say. And I like as a kid, I was like, I mean, yeah, there's a lot in my head, there's a lot in my mind. But when I look at my bigger purpose, I was supposed to. So like even now, motherfuckers be like, yo, damn, you talk a lot, but you got something to talk about. That was the death that I needed for the transformation from a younger perspective because it was like when it was spoken then, it was I talked a lot. That was it. I talked about the good and the bad. I mean, I still do, but what I mean by that is like I talked about the things that had substance and the things that had no merit. You feel what I'm saying? As far as, oh, you're talking about this, like sometimes I just blurt random shit out that really had nothing to do with nothing. But it took that transformative piece to say, okay, have intention with what you speak rather than talk. You know what I'm saying? That was the death of that person. Sometimes we get afraid to let that die because we think we have to eliminate. Like, I ain't changing for nobody. That is something that I learned about being in the hood. You feel me? When I went to college, when I went to Philly, when I went to med school, when I went to every point in my life, they always told me the same thing. Don't forget where you come from. Nigga, I'm not, but I'm changing. Nigga, I'm not staying the same. I'm not gonna be Ray Ray when I come back to this motherfucker. Ray Ray's still gonna be in here, but I'm not gonna be Ray Ray when I come back to this motherfucker. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what keeps a lot of people down because it's like I was never afraid to die. Now, one of the reasons why I was never afraid to die because I think I don't give a fuck when nobody tell me. I think I died already. Hold on, let me sip my water real quick. All right, I'm back. But I think I died already. And a lot of people think that when you die, like it's a flat line and shit, you gonna walk into the light or some shit like that. Like, um, I think that's a part of me personally. I feel like that's a part of what you've internalized within your mind because death is just a long dream. That's why they always say sleep is the cousin to death. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like whatever's in your mind conjured up to how you see it. When you die, you'll see that because your mind believes that. But it's like you're still you're still alive when that happens and when you see the things you're seeing. But those are the things you said you were supposed to see. Like, for example, I use this example because it was so powerful, but I don't think people really understood it because, well, it was hard to. It was incomprehensible, but in the moment, you're not able to see it. So I was talking to my auntie. I got an auntie who got shot. She got shot in the head, either in the head or the face. The head, the face is on the head, but she got shot in the head. Um, and as she's describing what happened, she was like, "Yeah, I really died, but what happened was, she was like, God came to me and He brought me back." So I'm like, oh, what was it? Did you like what did he look like? I'm excited. I'm like, yo, what did he look like? You seen God? And her description was what she said was, I didn't see him, I just saw his hand touch my shoulder. And then when his hand touched my shoulder, I came back. So I was like, damn, how did she not see him, his full self? But then I understood the context of how the religion shaped your mind to be able to see God. Nobody can see God, but all you can see is that, all you know is that what you've internalized about God is like if you read in Exodus when he met Moses, like it was like Moses didn't see his face, so he couldn't describe him. He just saw the back of him, and it made Moses' hair turn gray. that it was so great, but nobody in the recordings has ever said, I've seen God's face. I've seen God's face. They said it was too powerful for you to see. You couldn't see it. So you would always see a hand or you would see something that symbolized that. So when your mind is programmed in that way, when that moment happens, I don't think that she really died. But in the, because I mean, I can't really express it. I know she flatlined according to, but there's certain time frames like you can't, you have to be deprived of oxygen for a certain amount of time to the brain and something else to actually be considered dead, right? But a lot of times people just hear that flatline, oh, a nigga died. It's like, nah, they can bring you back within time because the shit can restart because it's all electrical. But that's not what we're talking about here. But in the programming, she was like, she saw God and it was like, okay, go back. But it wasn't him, it was just his hand. So I'm like, yo, what does the hand look like? She's like, yeah, on a white robe, and it was a white robe all the way down, and it was just his hand. He touched me and said, you're not done yet. So then I woke up and I was like, okay. So I've been trying to figure out because it's like everybody has different experiences. So, but I understood it from the perspective of, all right, when she describes her experience when she's reading the Bible or what, and I asked her, I was like, what is God supposed to look like? And when I looked at her description of how, if she thinks she would always say, she's like, yo, you'll never see God's face and everything like that. Her mind, her unconscious mind was already programmed for what she was supposed to see in the afterlife. And she thought she was there in a dream. Because that's what the death is, the long dream state. You feel me? The long sleep, the upper room, right? So with that being said, when I say that I died, my experience was a little bit different, right? I've died several times in this world. Um, two times physically, one time spiritually, right? The one time spiritually that was different, but even with the physical deaths and shit, the trauma opened me to a different place. Because I had a homie once tell me like she was into like the esoteric shit, as I am or whatever, but we were at different levels. She was at a level that I hadn't reached yet, and she was basically she was guiding me into something. She was like, when people are in the level that you are, they've experienced a significant trauma that completely shaped them. And she was like, I'm curious to know what yours was because she was like, the level in which you are means that something great had to happen to you. Not great in the sense of good, great, but as far as magnitude wise. And I was like, well, to be honest with you, um, it depends on which time pocket you're in. So I got hit by a car when I was 17 months old. Like, everybody tells a story. This is why I feel like I died, because everybody says, yo, that shit crushed your bones under the car. They heard me cracking under the car, but I didn't die. So I know it's going to get to a point where people are like, well, damn, how you don't believe in God when that happened to you? Because I understand God. That's what I be trying to get motherfuckers to understand about me, but they assume that, oh, you're an atheist because you don't believe in God. Actually, I'm ominous because I understand the God of everything. Everything has its own little God. You feel what I'm saying? But I started to understand certain things. So it's different or whatever. But it was like, yo, so you didn't, I died. They told like my baby clothes had tire screeches on them. Like not screeches because that's a sound, but like skid marks from the tires. You feel me? My shoulder has a scar on it where the axle rested. Like my bones were crushed underneath that car. That's what everybody said. That's what the police report said. The witnesses said this little motherfucker's supposed to be dead. He ain't supposed to be here. His shit got crushed underneath that motherfucker. Like, you feel me? But I didn't die. But I did transform. I did transform so much so that, and that's where the strange line comes in because I've watched it in real time how people went through trauma and it's like, yo, this nigga wilding, yo, he crazy, he tripping, he different, he this, that, and the third. And it's like, and it came from trauma, losing friends, going through life threatening shit. And it's like, damn, you went through that now. And it's like, people ask me, like, yo, and then when you see this, like, yo, this person done lost their mind. No, they found the mind that was always there. For me, nobody ever looked at me and said I lost my mind because it happened to me so young. You feel what I'm saying? I was 17 months old. I had not even processed memories yet. I was walking. I don't even think I was talking fluently yet. I could have been at 17 months old. I think my mama said I started talking before a year. 17 months old is a year and a half. So yeah, I was definitely walking and talking by then. But you feel me? I didn't have personality developed already. I didn't have certain things already in line that had to be erased once I got shattered. So my truer self just bam, they say, yo, we ain't gotta hide, right? And so I've been that way all my life. So the older people talk, that boy been here before. He's scary. How can he see into the future? How he be predicting shit, right? And I would always feel like something was wrong with me because I never had the transition. I never died. I never had the actual death that I could recall. You feel me? Which is the fear of completion. So I had completed something. That's why I died physically, when I get hit by that car. But I was always open, philosophical, being able to see multiple depths of shit, and I always had it. Right. The second time it happened, I was 12. I was 12 and I got stuck in a sinkhole in the beach. I ain't never got stuck in a sinkhole before. And the sinkhole was so crazy that it was like literally only sucked one of my feet in. My feet are side by side, but it only pulled one of my feet. And I'm stuck in this bitch. And I'm like trying to jump out. And then the motherfuckers that I went to the beach with, like, I'm jumping out of the water, catching breath, and getting pulled back under. Something was fucking pulling me. I didn't just get stuck in a sinkhole. Something had my foot, right? So I'm trying to jump out and breathe, and the motherfucker, are you drowning? Yes, bitch. I was like, the fuck? You feel me? Then somebody came, old white dude. He don't really old. I say he had to be like middle age. He had to be like 40 something. But like he just came, grabbed my arm, and it was like the moment he grabbed my arm, the sinkhole disappeared. And I was like, he was like, what was happening? And like once he pulled me, I was just floating. He was like, I was like, yo, something had my foot. I don't know what it is, but something had my foot. I got out of the water for a little bit, calmed my nerves. Um, and that was it. But that moment, I will say, it wasn't scary to me. It wasn't like, oh, I'm dying. It was like, all right, let me get out of this situation. Keep calm. I stayed calm through that. I don't know if it's because I had died before. I don't know if it's because I had been in that space, but it's something that I talked about. Talk to about people who have experienced near death experiences, or what I mean. We have a certain understanding of any subsequent situations after that. It's like shit don't scare me no more. It's like you could be in the face of danger and shit ain't gonna scare you. It's like, nigga, you won't scare. Mm-mm. Like talking to, and I'm opening this up on a bigger level because like talking to my brothers, my family and shit. Like when it was time for me to go overseas to go to school and all that, I'm like, yo, you ain't scared? You going by yourself? But I gotta be scared of. And I realized that I've already transformed beyond the level of needing to be scared of death. I've experienced the worst possible kind of death. Because like I said, death is the fear of completion. And I'm gonna get to why, but death is the fear of completion. And in those moments, they say your life flashes before your eyes and shit. And I feel like that happens because it's showing you, did you do your mission? You feel me? I can't necessarily recall this 100% because I don't know for sure. But whenever they tell the story about when I got hit by a car when I was 17 months old, it was like a guy just came, looked under the car, lifted the car a little bit, and pulled me out. And was like, "Lady, come get your baby." And my mama always says like he looked under the car and he said something, and everybody asked me what he say, and I don't really know what he say, but I have the intuitive inclination that when people ask me what did he say, and it's the answer is always, "You're not done yet. You're not done yet." And I don't know where I get that from. Maybe that motherfucker did say that shit. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Because regardless of what I internalize, but it hit something in me. Some people like, yo, what did he say to you? I was like, I can't really say, but I feel like the motherfucker said, you ain't done yet. You're not done yet. So, like I said, when you stare face into death, when you stare death in the face and you beat it, it's like it changes you. It transforms you on a whole different level to where death is not scary anymore. That's the biggest thing. Like death is scary because change is scary. Transformation is scary. Evolution is scary because you're no longer going back to the old ways of who you were. You feel what I'm saying? So when I'm talking to these people and I'm coming from the perspective of, all right, death is crazy, but it's really not, you know? And because what they associate death with on so many different levels is solely physical, I'm solely physical and like definite. Like niggas like, yo, death is death. And they got us believing that death is death and birth is birth. We have continual cyclings of death and birth within our individual lives. And I'm gonna break it down, but I'm setting the tone still. So when you experience that, I don't want and don't know. Not now. Wait, hold, because I know sometimes we in a whole different age, and sometimes motherfuckers do stupid shit. And let me say this first, right now, clear in context of everything. Do not attempt in any way, shape, or form to phase death to reach a certain level of consciousness. Do not do no shit like that. If death comes to you because that is a part of the mission of your life right then, that's a different perspective. Do not go seeking death. It won't end good. It won't end good. All right. I'm saying that now because a lot of shit, I gotta remember that motherfuckers will take literal and motherfuckers aren't able to see there. I want to get there, so maybe I gotta die. Maybe I gotta put no, no, no. You don't have to put yourself in no situation to get woke and all of this extra shit to tap in and crack your heart chakra. I'm gonna break all of that down. But no, let that shit happen naturally if it's supposed to happen naturally. Some motherfuckers ain't supposed to unlock certain shit in this lifetime. But they do when they lose their fucking minds. Don't do that shit. And they'll lose their fucking lives. Don't do that shit. I just want to say that first. You feel me? Because a lot of motherfuckers, like, when you, this is just a tangent, but like, when you realize your influence as a person, you can get people to do certain shit. I know y'all probably wouldn't do no shit like that. In my life, I have talked people into doing shit because they trusted and held on to my word. I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, if he says this is how he got there. No, don't go walk into traffic to get hit by a motherfucking car. Don't go to the beach and attempt to motherfucking drown just because these were isolated events that I did not control. I didn't intentionally go into those. Please, 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 please. It's not worth the shit to try to exhibit death in order to transcend reality. Don't do that shit. Do not. Okay. But anyway, so back to the death aspect, right? Death is the final, is the completion of something, right? But we know from only one perspective of completion. It's like when death happens, that's the completion of my life, right? That's your life. But is it the completion of living? You feel what I'm saying? And because of the fear of death, a lot of people don't live because they think living speeds death up. In reality, living actually keeps, living delays death a lot longer than people really believe that it does. But because largely we don't really take the time to understand death from the esoteric side, we look at death only from the physical side and we let it consume us. This is why the mainstream media, MSM, all of that shit, it is what it is because it's like we want to program you in a way that when you see certain things, you don't realize what you're really looking at. So anytime we see death, like every movie, every action movie, certain movie, like it's death, it happens. It's like the nigga life stop. So when you associate death, you think my life is gonna stop. You die all the time. Some of you died a long time ago, and you're like I said, you died a long time ago, and you never laid that person to rest. And you wonder why you've been in this shell. You just been in a empty shell that you feel unfulfilled with. You know why? Because you didn't let that person die. You didn't lay that person, that version of yourself that died to rest, and you're trying to. You're a zombie. You're low key a zombie because you won't let it die. You're still trying to I hear people say it all the time. Motherfuckers gonna make me go back to the old me. What does that mean? What does that mean? You gonna go dig that motherfucker up out of the coffin. If it's in the coffin, you gonna go dig that motherfucker up and try to revive it and live through that shit. You can't go back to the old you. That's why you keep repeating the same cycles. Motherfuckers rarely say, y'all gonna, motherfucker, you ever heard a motherfucker say, y'all gonna fuck around and make me go forward to the new me? That's what you gonna do. You know why they can't do that? Because they don't want the present them to die. They don't want the old them to die, but they don't realize that they have to die. They're stuck. You feel me? They're stuck. In life, you're gonna go through death. You're gonna go through death. You feel me? At least two in your lifetime. You're gonna die. You feel me? But I don't want you to look at it as a physical death. Like you're gonna, oh, what should I look out for? Am I gonna get hit by a car? No, I don't mean in that regard. I mean in an esoteric aspect. The first, the two defining moments are from a numerology standpoint, you have your life cycle. You have three life cycles, but everybody don't make it to the third. That's cool because it's, after 80. So the first one is from birth to 28. The second one is from 29 to 56. The third one is from 57 to death, or whatever the case may be. But those are cycles of life. At those moments, you die. Think back to when you were 28 years old. Think back to it, if y'all up there, I don't know, because I got a decent audience. If you 56, you could think back to you 56 or whatever, right? But look at that 3 year window when you was 27, 28, 29, right? Or when you was 55, 56, 57. If you listening, I don't know. You feel me? If y'all listening to me, like, man, shit, I be cussing. Damn it. Damn. But anywho, let's get back on subject. So think about those moments. There was something definitive in those moments that changed you and shaped you and made you the adult. Because from a numerological standpoint, those three cycles we have the childhood, which is birth to 28, adulthood, which is 29 to 56, and then elderhood, which is 57 to death, right? Those are the first three from a numerology standpoint. And astrology is confirmed with your Saturn returns, right? Same 3 year pocket of Saturn is from your birth and it comes back into that sign again when you're about 27, 28. You feel me? Your Saturn return, ooh, anybody who's ever experienced a Saturn return knows that when you come out that motherfucker, you're different. You're different. Life, like, it's like the motherfucker just collapse on you completely. And you die. A version of who you are dies. The problem is that in that death, a lot of people aren't reborn. They literally just die. And they stop living and they go into existing. They go into autopilot and get into a same routine, mundane lifestyle because they died. And they want to go back and they always say, oh, I just want that spark I had when I was a kid. You can't. I want that spark when I was in my 20s. You can't. You have to realize that you have died. That version of yourself is dead and you're trying to revive it. That's why you're not successful what you're doing. You feel me? Because you completed that version of your life. You're dead. Go lay it to rest. Put it in a coffin. Right? Now, I'm using those examples because those are the guaranteed deaths that you're going to have in your life. I mean, outside of your physical one, but those are the guaranteed deaths that you're going to have in your life. You feel me? At least. Now, if you're actually living, you're going to go through shit. There's going to be a transformation of your attractions. There's going to be a transformation of your taste, your likes, and your wants, but you have to die for that. You have to experience the shit. Say, I don't like this anymore. I do like this. Let me go into it. The problem is the fear of completion, being complete. You feel me? Some people have, you know, some people some people died in relationships early and then just waited until the end. Like imagine a relationship dying in year 2 and you guys stay together for 60 years. That's ridiculous. Like that's what motherfuckers be talking about. Like, oh, we have these relationships that are 60, 70 years old and shit, and they've been together forever. Did they die? How many times did you see these people die together? Those relationships that happen where that new love is renewed and they become closer, death happens and they share the death. They share the thing that transforms them together because they face it. Where a lot of people fuck up is because when we get in these relationships, motherfuckers are in a relationship for tolerance. Motherfuckers are not in a relationship to actually be a partner with this motherfucker or in a relationship to actually hold this motherfucker down or be with this motherfucker for the longevity or whatever. They're in a relationship to prove a point to other people. They're not using it to work together. So because they're not using that relationship to work together, when death happens, their deaths are individual and isolated. So when you die, you want this other person to be there and say, oh, help me get through this because we go through our own individual deaths. And we would want ideally they can't because they're not sharing the death with us. That's when it becomes tolerance. It's like, yo, why are you tripping? What the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? I'll be there for you, blah, blah, blah. But that's one thing. But when we experience the death together, that means we are reborn together. You dig what I'm saying? Again, this is not to say go out and do some shit that elicits death together, thinking this is gonna. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you're going to face moments that you two have this. Oh, damn, this is designed to evolve us, not me. Like, this is why I always tell people that when you're with your significant other and you have children by them, when you're speaking to them, always make a conscious effort as best as you can to say our children, not mine, not yours. Like, don't get mad and say your child wilding. Stop doing that shit. Or when they're doing good, my child did this. Stop doing that shit. That is still our child. Those are our children. Reason why I'm saying that you still want to make sure that you guys are preparing it for the hour. Your children are going to be the ones that kill you a lot. The children are going to be the responsibility. They're going to be responsible for a lot of the deaths that parents take. The deaths that the completions is like, oh damn, this motherfucker ain't a kid no more. They're a teenager. Now you have to die from being the parent of a teenager. No, no, no. You have to die from being the parent. I'm only going to use it for this example, using one kid because I don't want it to get all over the place. But when you have one child, you have to die in the way in which you're raising them, through the ways in which their self is dying. Children go through the phases of the child, the teenager, and shit like that. It's like you have to die to be able to handle them. One of the reasons why the family the structure is the parents don't die with the children's death. Oh, you just a rebellious teenager. I miss the days when you were a little kid. That's the day they prayed for. That's a lot of people only have babies for the first 3 years. So they can buy just a little motherfucker up like a dog. Go get a little Me Alive doll or some shit from Walmart. Don't have a fucking biological, real, functioning, moving child because, oh, I just want him to walk, I want him to talk, I want to hold him, I want to this, I want to that, I want to that. But they don't want to die as the child dies, as the child gets older. I get it. 12 to 13 is teenage years, but there's a death that actually happens. Suddenly the child has questions. Suddenly the child is in a rebellious phase. They're not in a rebellious phase. They've died and they're trying to understand life. You're trying to keep them. You don't want to die with them. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to complete that cycle with them and say, okay, I'm the parent of a teenager now who now has to think, who now is going to start questioning the world, who now needs a little bit, who now needs the same patience that I gave the very first child to walk and talk. I need that with the teenager because now you're going to walk and talk different. I still got to be there to hold my arms out for you to walk towards me. I still got to be there to tell you the right way to pronounce the words, metaphorically, of course, and on a different level. Parents don't die with that. In our community, a lot of times when the child has died and become the teenager or become the adolescent, the parents did not die as the parent of a child to be reborn as the parent of adolescent, right? So that's when it says this child is wilding out. I'm going to leave him in the hands of a deity. You feel me? Now this child has died and now they're being reborn. Now they're trying to live on their own, metaphorically, of course. So oh, they don't talk to me on this because that you still like the little 8-year-old that played Pokemon. This motherfucker about to start fucking if you ain't careful. You feel me? And these are things that we don't, because we don't want our children to grow up. Do you know why? Because death has to happen. We fear that completion. You dig what I'm saying? That's problematic because now when we flip it from the other side, when we were teenagers, when we realized that we were coming into our own and shit, a lot of us have said the shit. We only 16, 17 years old. I'm grown. You ain't grown. You growner than you were, but you ain't grown. You feel what I'm saying? You've experienced a death when you're no longer a child. But now you're adjusting to the birth of becoming an adolescent. But a lot of people still want to hold on to those childish things. You dig what I'm saying? And they can't because, and the reason why a lot of times they don't put them down is because they know it's a death. I still like, there's moments where I hear people say, I just want to go back to the old me. That motherfucker dead. That motherfucker dead and shit, dead as shit. But you want to go back to it because you know you didn't bury it. You feel me? And it's easier to deal with. You lived that quote unquote life already. This new life is different. You feel me? This new life is different. So you have to come into those newer pockets. You feel me? But those are like extra extreme. So when we're not actively practicing it, we don't even no. When we're not actively playing the game, we don't practice because we don't know what we're practicing for to know what the game is going to be. You feel what I'm saying? So when a death moment happens, we don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how to process it. We don't know how to transform from it. And again, Death is not, I don't want to seem like death is the end all be all. Now we're going to get into how it ties to the tree of life, the heart chakra, all this other shit. Death triggers loss. No, loss triggers death. I said that backwards. Loss triggers death. Losing is powerful, but it's overcoming loss, right? When you look at the heart chakra is blocked by grief, right? It's blocked by grief. And the emotion and the power that is there, that is sitting at the heart chakra, is love and hate. Love is the power for correction. No, the power for betterment through correction. This is not a word, what I'm going to say, but it does fit the context of what we're talking about. Hatred is the power that leads to detriment through incorrection, right? Both of these polarities are very important. They're dependent upon how you're able to grieve, if you're able to grieve at all. So the loss triggers, death happens. First thing you're supposed to do when you go through the 5 phases of grief, you have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Acceptance is the point you want to get to when you transform. Death is supposed to lead you to acceptance. You feel me? A lot of people can't accept the greatest physical death because they don't practice the acceptance of the little deaths that happen all the time in their lives.
All you keep hearing is get into the markets, but do you trade or do you invest? Should you do stocks, forex, crypto, or NFTs? My personal answer is not a single one if you don't know how to read a chart. Without knowing how to read a chart, you end up giving all your money to those who do. Do you know what a candle is? Do you know the pocket of activity? Do you know the difference between market direction and market control? If you answer no at least once, you might want to learn how to read a chart first. Learning how to read a chart will let you know if you should trade or invest and if you should do stocks, forex, crypto, and or NFTs. It will also let you know if this is even for you or not. So visit IamJustSeen.com to learn how to read charts with my Mastering the Market course, ebooks, and webinars today. The world is changing. The question is, will you adapt with it?
Disappointments, heartaches, you know what I mean? Just everything. There's little deaths that we face that we have to go through to get over because we don't mourn. The first, like when the loss hits, the first response is to mourning allows you to start to grieve, which means that you mourn to overcome denial. People who can't mourn are in denial. It goes hand in hand, no questions asked about it. As men, a lot of times, especially as Black men, we have told ourselves that we're good for so much that we can't mourn properly. Therefore, we'll never get to the acceptance point. Therefore, when death happens in us, we just kind of go numb. We kind of go numb because we can't accept it. When the loss happens, man, I'm good. Yo, fuck that motherfucker, man. Blah, blah, blah. And we'll leave it at that. We don't accept, yo, this motherfucker really played me. And you're not in denial to the shit. Then you can get into the anger. Then you can get into the bargaining. Then you can go through the depression. The depression is the hardest part to get through. But when you get through the depression, you get to acceptance. I break all of that down in Soulful 3, how to actually do that process. Because I've done all of these things. Again, episode 200. Stay tuned. When that happens, when that death moment happens and shit, like through the life we practicing, we experience the loss. From the losses, we get to the acceptance, and then it's either acceptance or rejection of the situation. But when it's aspects of yourself, you're either going to accept this reality and say, this is something I need to keep in my life, or this is something that I need to take away. So I'm either going to accept this reality or reject it. What did this do to me? Right? Which means I have completed this. A lot of times we can't complete anything successfully because this goes into crown chakra shit, but we have attachments to things and we don't have connections. You feel me? People be asking me, how you just I don't cut people off. I have to be attached to people to cut them off. I disconnect when the connection is done. I reconnect when the connection is viable. But a lot of times, because we're used to attachments, people don't realize that it's painful to detach from somebody because you have to cut the tie. It's certain wordages that we use. See, man, I love fucking words, my guy. It's certain wordages that we use that tell you know what I'm saying? Like we lock into a lexicon that makes us think this is supposed to be this way. If I'm telling you, cut the ties, you got to cut this motherfucker off. You understand that it's going to be a painful thing. I got to cut the tie. I'm saying disconnect It's different. Because disconnections are different. It's just beep, that's it. Severing ties is something that you gotta do. Like people ask me all the time, like I have people who, on the spiritual side, would ask me, yo, what is a good thing that I can do for soul severing, soul separations, and cutting the ties and everything? I like you can cut the ties all you want to. I tell them the process on how to do it, the meditative visualization, sever the ties with the person and everything. They're like, but this person, because you didn't disconnect from them. Disconnection is different. Disconnection is different. I can't teach you that. Not right now, because that's crown chakra shit. That's crown chakra shit. You attach on some sacral chakra shit. You got a whole thing of chakras you got to clear first before you can get to a point where you can disconnect from people. You feel me? So a lot of people think, oh, you just don't care. Oh, actually, I care a lot. I care enough to disconnect. If I didn't care, I would, and equally caring about myself and you is why I disconnect. Just caring about you makes me attached. Just caring about me makes me attached. But caring about both of us makes me connect. So that way, when it's done, I can disconnect. But those are aspects that death is supposed to teach you, that it's time to disconnect. A lot of people can't do that. And I know it's fucked up. It's like, well, why we don't address death until it's the actual physical death and somebody loses a life. That's when it's, oh my gosh, life is so crazy. Death, you knew death was going to happen at any time. Death just finally got closer to you. But death has been all around you and you ignored it. There's moments in your life, there's pockets in your life when things have ended and you held them on too long. You were supposed to have a funeral for that shit. Let that shit die. You feel me? But you keep breathing life into shit that was dead. You keep breathing life into things because you don't want it to be complete. Because what does it mean to be complete with that? In real time, I could talk about this conversation, but I can actually make reference to something that I recently did that y'all got to see was with Sulfur 3. I was afraid to die. And I even talked about it in an episode. I don't remember which one, but it was like I kept pushing Soul Frail 3 back. And I was like, as long as I don't write it, as long as it's not published, I'm not, because what was I gonna do when I was complete? I had a few of y'all actually like, yo, bro, like this is just the next phase of your life. You were able to see death differently than I was able to see the death for this, because it's like, this is it. But for me, it was bigger because it was like, this is a part of my life purpose. What do I do when I complete that? And at first I'm like, because at the time, it's like in the death that it was happening, I was dying. You feel me? Not physically, but I was dying in this aspect. And I was like, damn, once I complete Soul Frail, that's it. Master the Market is going to be done. The Soul Frail series is going to be done. Hidden It Raw is going to be done. I got the merch done. I'm done. I did that pocket of like that. It was a whole different feeling. Like, I don't think when people talk about goals, you know, you often hear people, oh, let's set these goals, set your 5-year goals. How many times have you ever heard a real conversation about the completion of those goals and what to do next? I might do an entrepreneurs about that, but what's that next phase? You know how many people stay stuck in a cycle because it's like, if I end this, I'm done. I don't have, like, I die. And now I have to be born again. I have to walk again. I have to talk again. I have to learn again. I have to do. That's what life is supposed to be about. You're supposed to do those things. You're supposed to die. You're supposed to have your deaths because you have to complete something. Death is the fear of completion. When you understand that, oh, once I complete this, it changes your perspective, because it's like, I approach every situation now. Well, first, let me finish up what I was saying about, the death of Sophrel. And like, so with Sophrel 3, it was like, yo, I'm not ready to die yet because I don't know. I can't be born again. As long as I can keep telling motherfucker, yeah, Sophrel 3 gonna be crazy, yo, that shit gonna be lit. It's coming. It's here. It's done. Yo, seeing, so what you gonna, damn, my 5-year plan is done. Like, now it changes me. I've been transformed. I haven't been changed. I've been transformed, because now in completion, you can't go back. You can't go back. Like my next 5-year plan, I can't fail at it because I didn't fail at this one. The ante is up. The ante is up. And I can't do anything less than what I've done. The ante is up. It's like, shit, that plays with you, because that's what people don't pay attention to after the death, the birth that comes, because you're still alive. And the fact that the birth has to be greater than the last death. That's one of the things that holds people back because it's like, I achieved it. Oh shit, I achieved it. There's not, I can never tell myself again that it's not doable. I can never tell myself again that I cannot achieve my goals. I can never tell myself again. And it's deep because it's one thing to like my bachelor's degree, all this shit. Those were things that I achieved for other people. Granted, I did it for me, I got the degree and shit, all that shit, but a lot of that shit was to make somebody else proud of me. A lot of that shit was to make somebody else proud of me. This was to make me proud of myself. This was to solidify something for my lineage that has nothing to do with nobody else, everything to do with myself and what's coming after me. So the fact that I did it is like, yeah, I'm on the top of the mountain. I can, dun, 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 I'm a champion. Yo, I was watching fucking Arnett J, man. He was talking about his slow brother and shit. I'm a champion. Nah, I ain't even gonna get into that. This is that shit. Motherfucker. Y'all get a chance, yo, watch Arnett J. Motherfucker. But yo, accomplishing those things, it's like, what do I do next? What do I do next? My first cycle of life, I've completed that shit fully. Now it's like I'm in my second cycle. You feel me? I'm in my second cycle. I'm like, shit, what am I gonna do next? Of course, my goal logically is to think bigger, you feel me, than what I thought before. But sometimes that can be like, that's one of the downsides of actually having the perspective of getting all of that done, because it's like now I feel like I have to be greater than that. I just got to do me. The death of those things is done because the life of what those things led to was there. Like everything that came, like my first cycle of life, the aftermath of all of that is all of the shit that I put together for that first cycle. Mastering the marketing was developed because I got into poverty. I was born into poverty. I was raised in poverty. You feel what I'm saying? Like my mama didn't move out of the hood, you know what I'm saying, that we was in until I was 18 years old. You feel me? But my mom was so powerful of a person, I didn't even know I grew up in poverty. I was oblivious to shit. And she had me carry myself in such an air that the people around us thought we was rich. I said, nigga, I live around the corner from y'all. Nigga, I'm trying to get a quick rich money scheme with y'all right now. We all broke. What you mean? Like we live we live around the corner from each other, my guy. What makes y'all think? And it was the presentation of how we were. But anyway, that led to mastering the market. Growing up in poverty, I said, I need to be able to pull money out of thin air. Niggas try to tell me money don't grow on trees. I got to figure out a way to make it grow on trees. I got to pull this shit out of thin air because I can't do the way like I'm not about to do that. Because I need money today. I don't need money in 2 weeks. I don't need money in a month. I need the money right now. What's the best way to do that? Oh, I can hit the markets. Let me learn it. You feel me? I will never fall back into poverty again because of this skill. I don't give a fuck what nobody tell me. I can lose everything in the markets in one moment because I misread or whatever the case may be. But I got a skill that'll never leave me in poverty again. You dig what I'm saying? It'll never leave me in poverty again. Solely for the fact that all I need is $100. You can open up an investing or trading account with a minimum of $100. And when you know how to read the markets and trade like an investor and invest like a trader, you can make money. I'll never be broke. At this point in my life, broke is a choice. You feel what I'm saying? Broke is a choice. If I need that $100, I'm like, okay, cool. I can either sell a course, I can sell some books because I can market them. You feel me? But these are things that I had to complete first. That version is dead, but here's where it's dope, because these are things that come into your next life. Even on a physical aspect, we reincarnate in this bitch. They'll tell you your past life, you did this, your past life. My past life, while in the life that I'm living now, you also have past lives and the lives that you're living now if you learn from them. Mastering the market, so frail, hitting it raw. Those things are my past life, but they're going to be used to make my present life better. You dig what I'm saying? There's things that I'm gonna learn, like marketing, advertising, all these things that I had to learn in this cycle. It's complete. Now it's time for the next level. Now it's time for the next level. And that's one of the hardest things that a lot of people face, because death has to happen for you to get there. For some people, the greater you are, the more closer to death you've become. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not telling you to go try to tap in and say, I'm going to push myself to a moment of death just so I can unlock my. No, no. Because, like I was saying, we're going back to the grief, the heart chakra is what breaks that open. Grief varies. Your heart chakra, once your heart chakra is open, that's what they call 4D. You hear people say, oh, we in 3D realm, in 4D, and 5D, and all these other shits. I'm gonna break down what those things really are in real time. Your 3D is your first three chakras, your root, your sacral, and your solar plexus, right? Your 4D area is your heart chakra. By itself, that's 4D because that's the bridge between 3D and 5D. 5D is anything above the heart chakra, which is your throat chakra, crown chakra, and brow chakra, right? So the 5D area that they're trying to tell you to get in, it's not like you're going to be you got to master 3D first. You feel me? The first three chakras are root, sacral, and solar plexus. The root chakra is survival. It's your foundation. You feel what I'm saying? Your sacral chakra is your sexual energy and your feelings, right? Your solar plexus is your personal identity and your emotions. Emotions and feelings are not the same. I'll break that down in so real. But if you don't have those three things when you go to 5D, it ain't gonna make a lick of difference. Because you have not mastered these things, you can't see through illusion. You can't hear lies. You can't see through the veil, and you have to attach, and you can't connect and disconnect when something is no longer serving you. You dig what I mean? But all of that becomes because what people don't tell you about unblocking chakras, you die. Not literally die, but you die to unblock your chakras. Because the old thing that kept your chakra blocked is no longer there. You feel me? When you unblock your chakra, it's not about, oh, I'm just going to sit and meditate and put some essential oils. No, you can unblock that shit permanently to where it flows fluidly because you have absolved the thing that blocks it. What blocks the root chakra? Fear. Fear. That's how I know fear is the lack of understanding. Your root chakra, understanding your circumstances and your survival is how you develop and absolve yourself of fear. Learning things, developing things, removing yourself of ignorance. Understanding things helps you absolve your root chakra. This changes the way you survive in this world. That's why I was talking about lexicon and shit like that. If your lexicon is set a certain way, then you may or may not be able to overcome fear. Because you may or may not have the capacities to think that you like for example, like I said, lexicon is big on the words that you use and speak the most, create your reality. They box you in. So when you hear people say, oh, this motherfucker using big words, they're going to stay stuck in a heavy, horrible place simply because they don't even want to hear different words. I used the word peon one time and the motherfucker said, yo, you're using big words. Peon has 4 fucking letters. P-E-O-N. Ain't shit big about that. Ain't shit big about a peon. But it's big in the sense that that word is outside of the lexicon that shapes this person. So this person's root chakra is going to stay blocked because they're going to stay in a state of survival. I'm not saying just because of the word peon, but the fact that you cannot process anything greater than that means that you're not going to learn the necessary things to absolve the understanding, the fear. You feel me? You're not going to be able to maneuver a certain way. So that root chakra is not going to be unblocked. But when you finally unblock that root chakra because you face the fear, for me, my greatest fear was the only fear I had. The fear of God. When I was a kid, that was the only fear I had because people kept telling me I couldn't understand it. When I understand it, every fear disappeared. Every fear disappeared by default simply because God is everywhere and in everything. From the one come the all, therefore the all is the one. Once I stopped fearing God, that's it. Everything else it made sense. Life began to make sense more for me. You feel what I'm saying? But I had to understand that, absolve myself of the fear, because if I don't fear God anymore, I don't have a reason to fear anything else. You feel what I'm saying? If you don't fear the creator, why would you fear his creations? Because you understand why those creations were made. You understand the depths of those creations, and you know that you can stay away from these creations or you can go towards them. You can use these creations to get you to a certain point. You can use, you know what I'm saying? You learn how to absolve fear. So I can survive anywhere. You feel me? The root chakra is rooted in survival. But when you're able to survive anywhere because you have understanding, it'll always stay open. You feel me? Sacral chakra, to truly understand feelings, you have to die. Metaphorically. There's a death of those feelings to overcome it, to unblock it, because the sacral chakra is blocked by guilt. I refer to it as onus in Soul 3 because onus has a dual nature, guilt and what is it? Take the onus of something. It's like guilt and blame. No, blame and credit. That's what it was. So I say onus instead of guilt because guilt makes it seem like it's one dimensional, and it's like, oh, you know what I mean. But onus of something, when you take onus of it, it's either you're going to take credit for it, you're going to take blame for it. That's guilt in a sense. Those are the positive and negative streams of guilt, credit and blame, right? We live in a space where we never want to be blamed for anything, but we always want to take the credit of shit. You feel me? So we'll be in this, in that part that has to die because you have to equally be willing to take the blame of the shit that you do. You feel me? And equally take the credit. You feel what I'm saying? And you can't be off the other extreme either, because that leads to another thing. Is just, okay, blame me for everything, and you get into that victimhood and you don't take credit for shit. That is where those are the things that had to be unblocked. Again, a lot of the shit that we do, the reason why we can't overcome the onus is because of what we believe in. We believe that we don't have any accountability or responsibility for our life. So we kind of just do shit. You did what I mean? With the hopes that if it's good, I didn't do this, I'm going to give credit to this. If it's bad, I didn't do this, I'm going to give credit to this. No, get your shit together. But that requires our own personal thing of a dying of, I'm no longer going to allow anybody else to take the accountability and responsibility for my life. When you make that decision, you transform. And then you start making better decisions in life. When I know that I can't put my good shit on somebody, when I know I can't put my bad shit on somebody, it's all on me. I'm very, very intentional about the shit that I do from that point forward. You feel what I'm saying? I can't blame anybody else but me. And therefore I can't give credit to anybody else for me. I got that aspect when I was healing from the death of, the person of who I used to be that was fueled from not having a father. That motherfucker dead now. He's already evolved into a man who understands what the father energy was supposed to be. And I know how to use that for myself. That motherfucker dead. I can't keep blaming that motherfucker for shit. You feel me? And it hit me when I was 26 years old. I was talking to him and I was like, initially I want to say, yeah, man, I wrote these books because you left me by myself. And then I'm like, nigga, if I blame him for the success of these books, I got to give him the credit for it. Nigga, you don't deserve that. I do. You don't deserve the credit for that. And it helped me absolve that. That's only sacral. And then you got the solar plexus, which is your personal identity. Uncovering your personal identity. A lot of motherfuckers don't know who the fuck they are. They know who they become. They know how they behave. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's where your emotions are. You only have two emotions, joy and pain. Every feeling that you have leads to one of those two emotions, joy and pain. You feel what I'm saying? If your life is through joy, because every experience that you have triggers euphoria, you'll have a joyful life. And you'll create euphoric bonds with things. A lot of us have never created a euphoric bond a day in our life. All of our bonds are trauma. Especially us in the Black community, we're born into trauma. You feel me? We get whoopings, we get all this shit. Like our connections are trauma based. They're not euphoric based. So much so that we hate euphoria. We hate happy motherfuckers. Nigga, what the fuck you laughing for? But like, you feel me? We would be more receptive to a motherfucker who's crying than we are to a motherfucker who's laughing. We're positively more receptive to somebody who's crying than we are to somebody who's laughing. When we see somebody laughing, we think they're laughing at us. When we see somebody crying, it's, oh man, it'll be okay. Why do you have so much compassion? You see what I mean? Joy and pain. You feel me? But that's because your personal identity is not yours. You have to accomplish certain things to realize this is who I am. A lot of people don't know how to do that, because one of the craziest parts about the personal identity side is that when that side has to die, you're not even killing yourself. Yourself is not dying. Only the motherfucker you've been behaving as. But you know what's really dying? Your capacity to please people. That's what people don't realize. When they think that, oh, I got to do this, like, That's not what has to die. It's not you that's dying in that. It's you. It's your mask of people pleasing that you made your personal identity. I want everybody to feel good around me. I don't give a fuck who feels good around me. I don't give a fuck who feels bad around me. What I trigger out of you ain't got shit to do with me. What I catalyze out of you when you're in my presence has nothing to do with me. And we got to stop internalizing that and making that shit our fault, because that makes us no longer want to tap into our own personal identity. We identify according to behavior that we know pleases people. That makes we want people. I don't give a fuck if you smile around me. I don't give a fuck if you cry around me. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. Not in a disrespectful way, but I don't do it in a sense where I internalize it to where it matters to me. You feel what I'm saying? Why you cry, why you get upset, why you get angry, I'm not gonna think about in 5 minutes. They're not my priorities. And this is not to say that I'll intentionally like undermine you if I trigger and do something to you. No, I mean like if just in a regular like let's say for example these podcast episodes. If this podcast episode triggers something in you, nigga, you didn't have to listen. It ain't like I'm atting the motherfucker say, yo, come listen to this podcast. No, I record it, tell y'all I got a podcast out, y'all come listen. If at some point within this hour and a half, 2 hours that you find I don't want to, you can do that. At that moment, you feel like I offended you or whatever the case may be, you made a choice to remain offended. That ain't got shit to do with me. I don't have to take this shit down. Like that's what this cancel culture shit is about. Like a lot of motherfuckers want to flex the power. It's like, oh, we're gonna cancel. You can't cancel a motherfucker that's uncancelable. You feel me? Like, cause you can only cancel motherfuckers that are entertaining you. You feel me? My livelihood isn't dependent on entertaining motherfuckers. It's dependent upon educating motherfuckers. You can't cancel an educator. You can only cancel an entertainer. You cannot cancel an educator. Because I can say something right now in a small pocket of time that motherfuckers will remember. Oh, I can't listen to this. All right, cool. But there's people that will, oh, that wasn't nothing. I'm gonna keep going to the gyms. Okay, I didn't agree. I have had people say that several times. I don't agree with everything you post, but I will not leave your page. I don't agree with everything you say, but I still listen to your podcast. Because that's life. You're not supposed to agree with everything I say. And that's why you're growing. That's why you're learning. That's why you're developing. That's why you're able to soak all of this game up. Because neither one of us are in a space where we're trying to please one another. But that ties into the debt that we have. We both have a mutual debt that we're not worried about entertaining and being entertained. You feel me? This is something that you choose to operate under. So that death has already come. That death has happened, and that death has already led you to complete a certain part of your life. That's where the hard part comes in then after that is, what do I do with the next phase? You dig what I'm saying? Another thing that hinders us is the fact that if we struggled to complete the shit, it's like, I don't want to struggle like that again. Because we live in this facade world where, everything should be natural. Everything should be fluid. You shouldn't have to work for anything. No, everything that's yours, you got to work twice as hard for. You feel me? Because you got to be perfected at it. You were given the insight to see it in its full capacity. So why are you not knowing it in its full capacity? You feel me? That's the death aspect. You feel me? With mastering the market, what transformed me into the teacher was the death of it all. You feel me? I died from being a simple trader and investor because it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Yeah, I can go into the markets. I can look and say, oh, buy low, sell high. Buy low, sell high. That was one aspect of it. That's something that a lot of people don't want to die from. Like, a lot of the people that I'm looking at as students, they're making every excuse as to why they won't get into it or whatever. I don't give a damn, to be honest with you. They're like, I got the skill. Like, like the teacher, but I got my degree. You feel me? Yo, I already got the skill. So I don't care if you don't have it or not. But you're not going to keep talking to me about wanting the skill and then not do anything about it. But I'm saying that because I reached that point where it's just like, all right, when I first started, it was like, okay, just get this money. Now I understand it. I don't miss the money because I understand this shit well. Like, I understand this shit well. It's like Bruce Lee said when he first started martial arts, a kick was just a kick. That's the position a lot of motherfuckers in. You feel me? The markets are just the markets. It's gambling. It's like, nah. But then he's like, when he actually studied it, kick became so much more than kick. But then when he mastered it, the kick was just a kick. Motherfuckers be like, there's no way you cannot use indicators. Okay. All of my students were like, yo, nigga, we don't use them either. Motherfuckers, how? You gotta have an indicator. No. That's the level you're in. You can't break that death. That is a bind. So when I look at those people who have the mindset of, okay, I can't get out of this, like I gotta do this, I'm not gonna be able to teach them right. I'm teaching you in a way that you never learned before. You have to die. You have to let that shit die. That's the thing that I'm saying. A lot of motherfuckers will not let shit die in order to live again. You feel what I'm saying? They won't let shit die to live because they're scared. Because it's like, I have to change you. Yes, you do. You do. You've complained about this shit. And I'm going to tell you, when death is about to come, you start complaining about it. Either you're going to let death happen or you're going to keep the death alive. And then you become a zombie. Motherfuckers complain about the very shit that they can change. Relationships, jobs, all kind of shit. You can change it. Now I get it. You got too much momentum. You put in too much time. You got all of this. Well, shut the fuck up. That's the only option. Either you change or you shut the fuck up. Either you transform or you shut the fuck up. Either you evolve or you shut the fuck up. Stop complaining. I got homies right now. They know me so motherfucking well. They know that they only get 3 text messages to vent. Now I'm bullshitting. It's not 3. But I mean, within a conversation, they're gonna get 3 text messages where they can talk about or complain about some shit that they've already spoken to me about. I'm gonna add that part into it too, that they've already spoken to me about, and it'll kick in for them instantly. They're like, well, let me stop complaining. Cause they already know what I'm about to say. You feel what I'm saying? Either you change or you shut the fuck up. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, yo, I can't believe I get it. As a motherfucker, let me explain something to y'all. And this is, I'm gonna try to start wrapping it up here. I've seen death so many times in my life. Physical death, like I've actually experienced death physically, and then emotional deaths, spiritual deaths. I've died so many times and evolved and changed so much that I can do shit mentally that a lot of people can't. And so when I left med school, everybody was like, you gotta go back to school. You gotta finish. You gotta do this. I was like, I have died from that. That motherfucker's dead. Well, what are you gonna do about your loans? How you gonna pay this back? How you gonna make an income? How you gonna make a way for yourself? That's just a waste of time. It's not a waste of time from school. Me going to school wasn't a waste of time, but you put all that money into it and now all right, cool, I'll figure it out. That version of myself is dead. I cannot bring that motherfucker back to life if I tried. It's dead. You feel what I'm saying? This is the shit that I be talking about, like with change, transformation, and evolution. I didn't just change and think, okay, well, fuck it, I'll go back. I evolved. I can't fit in any of those molds anymore. But as I always say, it's not what you walk away from, it's what you walk away with. You feel what I'm saying? Yo, you had a golden opportunity. You was in med school trying to pay off debt that I couldn't pay back. You see what's going on right now? Niggas can't pay back their college loans. They suffering. You feel what I'm saying? But for me, it was like, okay, since I died there, another thing is like, you have to fix the consequences of the shit that happens when you die. Me walking away from med school, me walking away from all that shit, what was it? It was 2014. I think I was like $186,000 in debt. I was $186,000 in debt in 2014, walking away from med school. The average motherfucker who has never experienced death like that would have looked at it like, damn, bro, you gonna have to file bankruptcy. Like, how you gonna erase it? I'm gonna pay that shit back. Nigga, that's a lot of money. You gonna have to do this. Watch me pay that shit back. Watch me pay that shit back. Motherfucker still won't trying to hear it. Whatever, bro. You need to do this. You need to do that. Okay, cool. I'm going to pay that shit back, but I cannot go back into that lifestyle. I can't. It'll get paid. It'll get paid. Watch. You feel me? Time goes on. Motherfuckers. 2014, I owed 186. No, 184, 186,000, right? It ain't do nothing but compound. You feel me? Deferred and shit, keep going. I think last time I checked it was in like 2022. No, this is 2022. Like 2020, end of 2020, early 2021, I checked it again. I think it was like up a little bit more as far as the full totality of it. But I don't owe them. I owe them one check. I owe them one more check and I'll make my last payment in May. May 10th to be exact. I owe them one more check. One. Had I not transformed, I would not have completed that. I would have still been trying to dwell on the fact that, now granted, let me say this. Multiple things led to that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I just snapped my fingers like y'all seen for the last couple of years, all the shit that I've been putting my time into. Everything had to come together for this. So I'm like, this took Master the Market. This took Hitting It Raw. This took So Frail. This took Paula Cafe Clothing. This took everything in me to do. But because it took everything in me to do, I know what it takes for me to be successful in life. That was just a challenge. That was just something I said, you know what? I got to knock this shit out. So now it gets even more fucked up for people that watch me because it makes them feel disappointed in themselves. It's like, damn, you did that. I could have did it too. No, you can't. We ain't got the same 24 because our lexicons are different. I already knew what I was going to do. I already knew exactly what the fuck I was going to do, when I was going to do it, how I was going to do it. I didn't give a fuck who believed in it or not. I didn't give a fuck who thought, you feel me? Oh, you should try something different. Fuck you and fuck that. I know what I'm going to do because I died. You feel me? When I left religion, motherfuckers didn't realize, like, I died. I fucking died. I can't go back to that shit if I tried because I'm living again. Like a zombie can go back into that shit. And I had conversations with people who would tell me like, yeah, I reached that point in your life where I question this, that, and third. You didn't do what I did though. I know you didn't because you stayed in it. I left. We're different. You left because no, you stayed in it because you don't understand the way that I understand it. You believe it. You know what I'm saying? You believe it. But I had to die for that shit. And when I started to tell people that, I'm like, yo, I die for this shit. I'm willing to die for this shit. When I was young, I used to say that shit, didn't really realize what I was saying because I always attributed it to, you feel me, that gangster shit. Like, nigga, yeah, I die for this shit. So I changed it to I'm gonna live for this. You feel me? Because I heard Black Ice say, I challenge you to find something worth dying for and live for it. And then when I look at it from the higher levels, the esoteric levels of shit, I'm like, find something worth dying for and live for it. That means that when I die, it gives me new life. Let myself die. Let those, like, when that shit is no longer serving me, I'm done. Like, that shit's out. This goes for relationships. This goes for anything. But I'm willing to put that shit in a casket. I'm not willing to let it be a zombie. I'd kill, like, when that shit is dead, it's dead. I'm not trying to bring life into nothing that is dead. It's not going to work. Think about this. You got a plant. Would you put a plant in a smaller pot? No. Doesn't make fucking sense. You know why? Because it's going to stunt its growth. It's going to kill it. If your plant grows in a small pot, you put it in a medium pot, it gets better. You're not going to put it back in that small pot that it came from when it was small. It's going to die when you do that. That's what we be trying to do. Rather than moving it to a bigger pot, so now we can take care of more leaves and we don't want that extra responsibility because we don't want to be accountable for shit. That's why we're afraid to die. Death is the fear of completion. If you can learn to change your perspective of death, you'll live. Right now, I'm not saying you, but right now, most motherfuckers are just existing because they don't think that death has a positive side on the other side of it. You dig what I'm saying? And we live a certain life where it's like, oh, I got to move this way because I don't want to die today. I die every day. That's the goal for me, not on no suicidal type shit. Don't get me wrong, but it's to complete something. Every day I have to complete something, whether that be a book, whether that be a trade, whether that be whatever. I have to complete something different every single day. You feel me? Something has to be completed in some regard. Sometimes it maybe I didn't finish this book, but I read 10 pages. I read 20 pages. You feel what I'm saying? I ain't finished this full course, but I did 2 of the modules. Completion. Completion. Death is the completion of life. Death is the completion of living. If you do not die, you have not lived.
And don't forget to check out Pala Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all of the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Pala Cafe Clothing.
And I'm going to go ahead and end it there. One thing that I'm very big on, and I pride myself on, is that I'm living out this motherfucker. I'm living. Not just existing, throwing money short. Like, I'm living like motherfuckers. Like, I'm gaining experiences in life that are just unreal. But they're very real because I'm experiencing them every fucking day. But death is not a bad thing. The moment, and I'm saying this because it's like, again, this was a thing that we were talking about. A lot of people ask me like, yo, how you get here? What you got to do for here? You got to be willing to die. And not just physically. You got to be willing to die, but you also have to change your perception of death. I didn't say anything about be willing to get killed. I didn't say anything about be willing to get traumatized. So you have to be willing to die. You have to be willing to fully complete something. You feel me? In Kemet, Ma'at, when they talk about the Duat and the afterlife and shit like that, when they tell the story of it, it's like you got Anubis, you got Ma'at, you got the little dog with the crocodile face. I can't think of his name. Drawing a blank on that. But anyway, Ma'at. The theme of Ma'at is that when you're weighed, when your heart is weighed against a feather, it has to be lighter than a feather, or as light as a feather. And a lot of people think, oh, that means I didn't live life. I didn't know. That means your life has to be synchronistically, that your life has to be so balanced that your heart doesn't sway either way to tip the scales, which means that compared to a feather, it's still balanced. And the reason why I'm saying that is because in every story, I fuck with my eye, but in every story, whether it be Christianity, Islam, the goal of death is when you death. We say this all the time. You want to meet your maker and have the motherfucker say, well done. Like you've did everything that you're supposed to do, which means that you have to live, which means that you have to do what? Complete your purpose within the life. Whoever it is you fuck with. I choose to fuck with my eye, you feel me? And Kemetic iconographies, you feel me? You could be Christian, you could be Islamic, you could be whatever. But at the end of the day, when you meet, like, imagine, how would you feel? Imagine how you felt, how you would feel. Because I know motherfuckers don't believe in reincarnation, but I do. Imagine how you would feel if you spent 60 years in this world, you died, and you had to get sent back because you didn't do it right. You'd be mad as fuck, wouldn't you? I lived for 60 years and this was the wrong one? Yo, you didn't do what I told you to do. You know why? Because you were afraid to die. So you walked on eggshells, scared, and say, if I don't do anything wrong, if I don't do anything at all, I just wait my time to get to heaven, or I wait my time to get whatever, and I can get there. Then you get there, and it's like, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You wasted 60 years of your life. But the pastor said, I didn't tell the pastor shit. But the imam, I didn't tell the imam shit. When you got this life, I told you what to do. It ain't my fault you let motherfuckers confuse you and manipulate you and take you off your pivot. But how was I supposed to know? You wasn't. You're supposed to figure it out. But you allowed yourself to be manipulated by motherfuckers who didn't know what the fuck was going on. Everybody sound good quoting the shit. It sound good. You be thinking a motherfucker, because a motherfucker can memorize the book better than you or the doctrine's better than you. You be thinking, oh yeah, this motherfucker on a different level and shit. And you taking advice from a motherfucker that's still struggling to figure out who they are. They don't know. They don't fucking know. And you patterned your entire life off that shit. They coming back. They got to do this shit again. Like motherfuckers ask me, like, you know, if you reincarnate, like if you fuck up your life, you're gonna get another try. You can do it again. That whole the good die young shit. They don't die young. They die when they're ready. Motherfuckers die when they're ready. Like death comes to you because you create death. Your death, how you're gonna die is in you. I know this is gonna sound so crazy. Like motherfuckers be like, well, it's not that you predict your death, but you create your death. It's deeper than just the shit that you talk about. Like Tupac was a prime example. You know, everybody kept saying this shit like, yo, Tupac, he spoke his death. He spoke his death, but it was deeper than that. He created the lexicon for his death to exist. He talked about the way he wanted to die. Again, the universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you speak about the most. Tupac told the way he was going to die. I see niggas around the corner. I see death around the corner. I see this, I that. He spoke it and he died that way. Not only because but that was his association with death. That's where he chose to associate. But here's why I'm using Pac. Because between the age of 19 and 25, Pac knew he was going to die. Now, he created the death because of the feeling that he got within. And I'm going to tie this to myself. I ain't comparing myself to Pac, but I'm going to tie this to myself. When Pac died at 25, from 19 to 26, everything we know about Tupac Shakur is only for 6 fucking years, my nigga. Every album, movie, fuck. The legend that is Pac is only 6 years of time. Sit with that. Pac knew he was going to die. But the thing about it is the way the mind works and the way the power works, you create the reality based off of how you think you're going to die. That subtle nagging of, oh, I'm going to die soon, wasn't really him physically dying, but he created the physical death because he didn't understand the separation between the mental, physical, and spiritual realms. So in his music, in the words that he spoke, and the things in his actions, he prepared himself to physically die. Therefore, he created the physical death. Everybody talks it like when Pac finally died and shit, it was like, yo, he had this look in his eyes, like he just knew. Motherfuckers like he'll go into the studio and just make like music, because they were like, yo, he did it like he knew time was running out. And when they say it, they always make it seem as if he knew he was going to physically die. No, everybody knows that death is coming to us, but we create the death that is going to happen. Are you going to have a physical death? Are you going to have a mental death? Are you going to have a spiritual death? Because you can have whatever death you choose to have based off of how you're creating the world for yourself. And I say I tie that to myself because I always had an innate fear of dying before the age of 30. But in learning about a lot of the esoteric shit that I started to learn, I realized what it was. Because at 30, when I learned about the Saturn return, when I learned about the cycles of numerology and everything, when 30 hit, I did die. And it wasn't, and I got so petrified that I was like, I don't want to die for real, bro. Like, I ain't even gonna fuck it. And it's like, yo, if I come and I knew my mission and my purpose so well that I was like, if I complete Soul Frail 3, I die. So I won't complete Soul Frail 3. I was scared because I attributed it to a physical death, but then I started to sit back and look and it was like, it's not physical. It's not even mental. The death that I'm gonna have after I complete Soul Frail is different. And so I was like, fuck it, complete it. I was no longer stuck. Like I completed it because I had to, because it was like, that's death. That's death. Death is completion. Death is the final completion. You feel me? But it's of a thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be your physical life, but you have to live in order to experience death. It's that simple. It's really that simple. We all go through it. We die every single day, every moment of our lives. Something happens that shape. You can read a passage, you can read a book that can change your life forever. You feel what I'm saying? You can hear a word that can change your entire circumstance forever because it kills you. It kills you. Whatever that was caused you to complete something that transformed you to a whole nother point. It just sucks that because we don't experience much moments of euphoria, we don't die from euphoria. Everything is trauma based. When we end a relationship, when shit like everything has to go so bad, nothing can go good that can lead to death. You feel me? We don't perceive that. You feel me? And because we don't perceive it, therefore we won't create it. And if we won't create it, then it won't come. You dig what I'm saying? Death is in you. It's just inevitable. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. I'm not laughing like it's a funny because it's like, you know what I'm saying? I just want to take the ominism off of it because you're gonna die. We're guaranteed to die. But it's what are you gonna do? Like I seen this post. Well, not even this post. It was I was in an MLM. You know, they do the little motivational shit. And the motherfucker, we went to this little event and they put a tombstone on the stage. And they had a date, had 2 dates, and I was like, what the fuck is this about? They was like, you see this tombstone? I don't know if it was, I hope it wasn't a real one, but it's like, you see this tombstone? This is when this person was born, and this was when the person died, right? This is what we see on the headstone, right? Their life is the dash. I said, damn, damn, the life is the dash. The dash seems so insignificant on the tombstone, but the dash is what led to the tombstone. You feel me? Does that like follow me on that? The dash is what led to the tombstone. You live by, you die by. What are you gonna die by? Because that will tell you what you're living by. And then what you're living by, you can tell if you're gonna die by it or not. Live by the sword, you die by the sword. Live by the bullet, you die by the bullet. You feel me? You live by, you die by. So what things are you living by? Because now when you realize, okay, let me look at the things that I'm living by, I changed my perspective from wanting to live by fast money. So I started living by wealthy money, like longer money. So I can say it extends my life. It extends how much I'm living in that regard. Because now I'm doing things that are more sustainable to the longevity of wealth. I'm not just about getting some money because I can go sell drugs, I can flip, but I got to run the risk of that. I don't want no risk. I don't want none of that shit, but I want longevity of the shit. So I got into something that can do me like that. But that version of myself died in order to give me the life to do it. Right? How are you creating your dash? That's what's important right now. How are you creating your dash? You feel me? And that's dependent upon you releasing that fear of death because death is nothing but completion. Death is nothing but completion. When you complete your life, will you have completed everything that you knew you were supposed to complete? And do you even know if you're supposed to complete it? But I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And children already have a dope conceptualization of death that doesn't include anything negative. They don't internalize a negative perception of death until we break down that death is this person ain't coming back anymore, or this situation ain't coming back anymore. But babies don't conceive that at that point as much. But if we can start to teach them the power of death early, of it being completion, let them complete tasks to fruition and don't let them give up so early. We teach, like, I get it. Let your kids, when they want to stay their ground and say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, cool. But they need to figure out that moment of discipline and accountability of staying into something consistently until the moment is dead. Some people give up while there's still life in something. There's shit you done right now that was in your past when you was a kid that you stopped doing prematurely. And you have that yearning desire to get to it. And you finally got around to it and didn't want to do it anymore. Because you had to actually experience the death. You had to get to the death feeling that, oh, this is really complete. Some of us have things that we never let die in our lives because we never got to complete it. You dig what I'm saying? And because we never got to complete it, that's how it manifested itself. To where it's coming off as if, you feel me, we're not doing that. You know what I mean? Like we didn't let it die. And that's where you get that nagging feeling. Every skeleton that's in my closet is in a cemetery now. I ain't worried about shit. But I don't I've learned to live my life by oh wells rather than what ifs. I let a lot of shit die. I'd rather go through some shit and end with the oh well than continue living through a what if. Let your babies get that free reign too. To be able to, okay, that's a oh well, but I've experienced it, not sitting there. I've always wanted to do this. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this. Okay, cool. Now you have a whole bunch of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but didn't. Leverage that shit because now there's you know how many lives you have that have not. When you have shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and you have so much shit that you wanted to do in your life, that means you have a lot of lives that you never experienced that never died. Just the potential of life is sitting right there that you never had a chance to sit with. You dig what I'm saying? For me, I had to absolve myself of those things, and I'm like, yo, fuck it. I don't. When I actually physically leave this earth, I'm gonna be chilling. I'm not gonna be like, damn, I ain't get this done. Damn, I ain't finished that. Everything that I ever wanted to do is done. And when I go through the next phases of life, I'm gonna do those too. And another point is that at any given moment, I feel like when it's time to cut off, it's time to cut off. If it's not time to cut off, it's not time to cut off. There's gonna be projects that I'm probably gonna be working on and shit that just won't get completed. You feel me? One project in particular that as humans we'll never do is being a parent. You'll never complete being a parent. You're not supposed to complete being a parent, but we're taught that when a child gets 18, we let them go. And our culture, sometimes when a child turns 13, we put them in the hands of our deity and let them go. You're supposed to be, your child is the ongoing project. That is the one thing that you have to see to completion. It's the one thing you create that you have to see to completion that dies every single day. You literally watch your children die every single day. And you as a parent have to die with their death in order to be the successful parent for them. When they die between childhood and adolescence, you have to die with them and go into adolescence with them. It can't just be, oh, I've been where you, but I haven't been you. I don't give a fuck how much I've been where you've been. I have not been you, and that trumps everything. Parents don't see that. Conditioning won't allow you to see that. I can run the world. I've been to med school. I've sold cars. I've done all of these things, but I have not been whoever my child is going to be. No matter how hard I try, no matter how hard I try to do, I can never be them. And they will never be me. And those two things are not supposed to go together. And that's fine. But me as the parent, I have to die with them in their deaths and be reborn in their rebirths. That's the ongoing thing. Your child is going to be your child for life, but your child is not going to be a child for life. And your parenting has to be associated with that. By 18, we don't fuck with them no more. That's it. Oh, you working, you good, you know what I mean? You don't see a lot of the shit that they develop into. You feel what I'm saying? And you can't fathom it. But you would fathom it if you were actually in their lives and paying attention to the deaths that they had in between and walking them through those deaths and being there when those deaths happen. You feel me? And not trying to control them, but allowing them to bring themselves out. You feel me? So when the babies go through the deaths, when they go through, like, they know who to come to because I know who's going to help me. You're gonna die with me because I can't look at my child this way anymore. You feel me? Episode 200 is gonna have something on this too about the death of a child and the elevation and all that other shit too. I'm gonna talk about that. It's gonna be so much. This is gonna be a very, very powerful episode because it's very important. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And y'all stop being afraid of death. Death is the completion. To absolve you, to remove the fear of death from yourself, start living. Death gets farther and farther away from you the more and more you live, not just exist. But go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. I'm gonna see you on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.